Hey, my name is Jake. I'm 26 years old, and right now I'm huddled in a broken-down cabin in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming with Emma Chen, my best friend's little sister. Well, not so little anymore. She's 24 now, but in my mind, she's still the awkward teenager with braces who used to hide behind her sketchbook whenever I came over to hang out with Marcus. My life back in Denver is pretty straightforward. I work as a freelance photographer, mostly corporate events and the occasional wedding. It pays the bills, barely. I share a cramped two-bedroom apartment with a roommate who plays video games until 3 a.m. most nights. My romantic life? Let's just say my last relationship ended 8 months ago when Sarah told me I was emotionally unavailable and married to my camera. She wasn't entirely wrong. I've been single since, and honestly, it's been easier. No expectations, no disappointments, just me, my camera, and the occasional beer with Marcus. Marcus Chen has been my best friend since college. We bonded over terrible dining hall food and a shared love of hiking. Over the years, he's dragged me on countless outdoor adventures, climbing 14ers, backcountry skiing, week-long camping trips. I've spent so many weekends at his family's place that his parents basically adopted me. But Emma? She was always just there. Background noise. Marcus's quiet little sister who'd nod politely when I said hello, then disappear into her room with her art supplies. That all changed 2 weeks ago when Marcus called me, excitement crackling through the phone line. Dude, I booked us a cabin in the Tetons for New Year's. 3 days of backcountry skiing, no cell service, just us and the mountains. You in? I didn't hesitate. Hell yeah, I'm in. There was a pause. Oh, and Emma's coming too. She just got back from studying art in Portland and wants to do some winter landscape photography. I figured you two could talk shop. My stomach did a weird flip. The last time I'd seen Emma was at Marcus's graduation party 3 years ago. She'd been 21 then, freshly graduated herself, about to move to Portland for an MFA program. I remembered her standing alone on the deck, sketching the sunset, her dark hair pulled back in a messy bun. We'd exchanged maybe 5 words. Cool drawing. Thanks. That was it. Now she was coming on a trip where we'd be stuck together for 3 days. Great. The drive up to Wyoming was long, 8 hours crammed in Marcus's Jeep with our gear piled in the back. Emma sat behind me, headphones in, staring out the window at the passing landscape. I caught glimpses of her in the side mirror, her profile delicate and focused, lips occasionally moving like she was singing along to whatever she was listening to. She changed. The braces were gone, replaced by a quiet confidence I didn't remember. Her hair was shorter now, just past her shoulders, with subtle highlights that caught the winter sun. She wore an oversized olive green jacket and ripped jeans, looking effortlessly put together in a way that made me feel self-conscious about my worn Patagonia fleece. We arrived at the trailhead just before sunset. The cabin was 5 miles in, accessible only by snowshoe or cross-country skis. Marcus had rented it through some backcountry service, promising it would be rustic but cozy. As we strapped on our snowshoes and shouldered our packs, the sky began to darken, heavy clouds rolling in from the west. Weather's supposed to hold until tomorrow afternoon, Marcus said, checking his phone one last time before we lost service. We'll have all morning to ski, then head back before any storm hits. The hike in was brutal. Fresh powder made every step exhausting, and my pack felt like it gained 10 pounds with each mile. Emma moved ahead of me, surprisingly strong and steady despite her smaller frame. She didn't complain once, just kept her head down and pushed forward. By the time we reached the cabin, full darkness had fallen, and fat snowflakes were beginning to drift down from the sky. The cabin was exactly as advertised, rustic. 1 main room with a wood-burning stove, a small kitchen area, 2 bedrooms barely big enough for the twin beds inside them, and an outhouse 50 feet away. No electricity, no running water, just kerosene lanterns and a stack of firewood. Home sweet home, Marcus announced, dropping his pack with a thud. We spent the next hour getting settled. Marcus and I took 1 bedroom, Emma the other. We cooked a simple dinner of pasta and canned sauce on the propane camp stove. The 3 of us huddled around the wooden table as wind began to howl outside. So, Jake, Emma said suddenly, her voice cutting through the comfortable silence. Marcus says you're doing photography full-time now. That's really cool. I looked up, surprised she was talking to me directly. Yeah, it's good. Pays the bills. What about you? How was Portland? Her eyes lit up, and for the first time, I saw genuine enthusiasm. Amazing. I learned so much about color theory and composition. But I missed the mountains. Portland's beautiful, but it's not this. She gestured toward the window where snow was now falling heavily. We talked for another hour, easy conversation that flowed surprisingly well. Emma was funny, self-deprecating about her art in a way that made me want to see it more. She asked thoughtful questions about my work, actually listening to my answers instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. Marcus watched us with a knowing smile I couldn't quite interpret. Eventually, exhaustion won. We banked the fire in the stove and retreated to our respective rooms. As I lay in the narrow twin bed listening to Marcus's snoring, I found myself thinking about Emma in the next room. Stop it, I told myself. She's Marcus's sister. Off limits. Focus on skiing tomorrow. I woke to Marcus shaking my shoulder roughly. Jake, wake up. We have a problem. I sat up groggily, disoriented by the dim light filtering through the small window. What time is it? 6:30. And we're completely snowed in. I stumbled out of bed and followed Marcus to the main room. Through the window, I could see nothing but white. Snow had piled up against the cabin walls, at least 3 feet deep and still falling in thick, relentless sheets. The wind screamed like something alive, shaking the cabin's frame. Emma emerged from her room, wrapped in a blanket, hair messy from sleep. How bad is it? Marcus checked his weather radio, the only piece of technology still working. His face went pale. It's bad. This wasn't supposed to hit until this afternoon, but it accelerated. They're calling it a historic blizzard. Whiteout conditions, wind chills below -30. And it's supposed to last at least 48 hours. 48 hours? I repeated, my stomach sinking. Yeah, Marcus said quietly. We're stuck here until it passes. The first day wasn't terrible. We had food, firewood, and each other's company. We played cards, told stories, and pretended the howling wind outside wasn't slowly burying us alive. But as evening approached, the temperature inside the cabin began to drop. The wood stove worked hard, but cold air seeped through every crack in the old walls. By nightfall, I could see my breath inside. Marcus piled more wood into the stove. We need to conserve this. I counted, and we have maybe enough to last 3 days if we're careful. After that, he didn't finish the sentence. That night, I couldn't sleep. The cold was bone-deep, penetrating every layer of clothing and blankets I'd piled on. I could hear Marcus shifting restlessly in his bed, equally miserable. Around 2 a.m., I heard a soft knock on our door. Marcus? Jake. Emma's voice was small, trembling. Marcus was up instantly. What's wrong? She stood in the doorway, wrapped in every blanket from her room, shivering violently. I can't get warm. My room is freezing. The window doesn't seal properly, and I think ice is forming on the inside wall. Marcus checked her room quickly and came back swearing. She's right. That room is at least 10 degrees colder. The window frame is cracked, letting in air. He looked at the main room, then at the stove, clearly calculating. Emma, you need to sleep out here by the fire. It's the only warm spot. But even the main room was barely above freezing away from the immediate vicinity of the stove. We rearranged, dragging Emma's mattress into the main room and positioning it as close to the stove as safely possible. She curled up under her blankets, still shivering. Marcus and I returned to our room, but sleep was impossible. The second day was worse. We woke to find the temperature had dropped further outside, the weather radio reporting wind chills of -40. The storm showed no signs of stopping. We were rationing firewood now, letting the stove burn lower to stretch our supply. By midday, the cold inside the cabin was oppressive. We sat huddled in our sleeping bags, eating cold food because we needed to save propane. Marcus started feeling sick around 3 p.m. At first, it was just a cough, then a fever. By evening, he was shivering uncontrollably, his face flushed and hot to the touch. It's probably just a cold, he mumbled, but Emma and I exchanged worried glances. In these conditions, even a minor illness could become dangerous. We made him comfortable near the stove, piling blankets on him, forcing him to drink water. But as night fell, his condition worsened. He was barely coherent, mumbling about being too hot even as his body shook with chills. Emma sat beside him, fear clear in her eyes. He needs medicine. Real medicine. We only have basic first aid supplies. I checked our stock. Ibuprofen, bandages, nothing that would really help. The storm's supposed to break tomorrow afternoon, I said, trying to sound hopeful. We just need to keep him stable until then, and we can get him out. But privately I was terrified. Around midnight, Marcus's fever broke temporarily, and he fell into an exhausted sleep. Emma and I sat by the stove, feeding it small pieces of wood, trying to make our supply last. The silence between us was heavy with worry. He's going to be okay, I said finally, not sure if I was trying to convince her or myself. Emma nodded, pulling her knees to her chest. He has to be. I can't lose him, Jake. He's not just my brother. He's my best friend. Her voice cracked, and I saw tears sliding down her cheeks. Without thinking, I moved closer, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. She leaned into me, her body shaking with silent sobs. Hey, I said softly. Marcus is the toughest guy I know. Remember that time he hiked 10 miles with a sprained ankle just because he didn't want to ruin the trip? He's going to pull through this. She laughed weakly. He's also an idiot who never admits when he's hurt. True, I agreed, a small smile forming. We sat like that for a while, my arm around her, her head on my shoulder. The physical closeness felt natural, necessary even, given the circumstances. Eventually, Emma pulled back, wiping her eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to fall apart on you. Don't apologize. We're all scared. She looked at me, really looked at me, her dark eyes searching my face in the firelight. You've always been there for Marcus. Thank you for that. And for being here now. Something shifted in that moment. The way she looked at me wasn't like she was seeing her brother's friend anymore. It was something else, something that made my heart beat faster. The temperature continued to drop. Even with the stove, the cold was winning. Marcus slept fitfully, his breathing ragged. Emma and I took turns watching him, but exhaustion was setting in. Around 3 a.m., Emma started shivering violently again despite being close to the fire. I can't feel my toes, she whispered, her lips tinged blue. Alarm shot through me. Early hypothermia. I'd read about it, seen the signs. Shivering, confusion, loss of coordination. We were running out of time. Emma, listen to me, I said urgently. We need to get your core temperature up. Now. She nodded weakly. I made a decision, knowing Marcus would understand if he were lucid enough to see how serious this was. We need to share body heat. It's the most effective way. Her eyes widened slightly, but she didn't protest. I unzipped my sleeping bag and opened it wide. Come here. She hesitated for only a moment before crawling into the sleeping bag with me. I zipped it back up around both of us, our bodies pressed together in the confined space. She was ice cold against me, her whole body trembling. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know this is weird. Don't be sorry. We're keeping each other alive. I wrapped my arms around her, pulling her close. She tucked her head under my chin, her frozen hands pressed between us. For several minutes, we lay in silence, just breathing together. Slowly, gradually, her shivering began to subside. The heat exchange between our bodies was working. Better? I asked softly. Yeah, she murmured. Thank you, Jake. Her breath was warm against my neck. The intimacy of our position wasn't lost on me. I could feel every curve of her body against mine, smell the faint scent of her shampoo mixed with wood smoke. This was Marcus's sister. I shouldn't be noticing these things. But I was only human, and she was beautiful, and we were alone in a way that felt both terrifying and electric. Jake? Her voice was barely a whisper. Yeah. I need to tell you something. Something I should have said years ago. My heart hammered. What is it? She took a shaky breath. I've had a crush on you since I was 16. Every time you came over to hang out with Marcus, I'd find excuses to be nearby. I practiced conversations in my head that I never had the courage to start. I left for Portland partly because being around you and knowing you'd never see me as anything but Marcus's kid sister was too painful. I froze, processing her words. Emma. I know it's stupid, she continued quickly. I know the timing is terrible, and we're literally fighting for survival, and this is probably just the cold making me delirious. But I've spent 3 years trying to get over you, and then we get stuck in this cabin, and you're being so brave and kind, and I tilted her chin up gently, making her look at me. You're not delirious. And it's not stupid. It's not. No. Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since we left Denver. The girl I remembered was quiet and shy, but the woman you've become is confident, talented, funny. Emma, you're incredible. And if circumstances were different, what if circumstances don't matter? She interrupted, her eyes locked on mine. What if this is exactly the right time because tomorrow isn't guaranteed? She had a point. We were trapped in a blizzard, her brother was sick, we might not make it out of this. Suddenly, all the rules and social boundaries that had kept us apart seemed meaningless. Marcus will kill me, I said, but I was already leaning closer. Marcus loves you. He'll understand. Her lips were inches from mine. I'm going to kiss you now, I whispered. Okay. She breathed. Our lips met softly, tentatively at first. She tasted like cold air and hope. The kiss deepened, years of unspoken attraction finally finding release. Her hands found my hair, my arms tightened around her waist, pulling her impossibly closer. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, she smiled against my lips. I've imagined that 1,000 times. Reality is better. I laughed quietly. Same. We kissed again, slower this time, savoring it. Outside, the wind howled its fury, but inside our small cocoon, wrapped in each other's warmth, the world felt distant. Eventually, exhaustion caught up with both of us. Emma nestled against my chest, her breathing evening out as sleep claimed her. I held her close, my cheek resting on top of her head, feeling more content than I had in years despite our dire situation. I woke to weak sunlight filtering through the window and Marcus's voice, hoarse but alert. Well, this is interesting. My eyes snapped open. Emma was still in my arms, peaceful in sleep. Marcus sat up near the stove, looking rough but conscious, a knowing smirk on his pale face. Marcus? I started, but he held up a hand. Relax, man. I'm not mad. Feverish delirium has its perks. I was aware enough last night to know what was happening. Emma needed warmth, you provided it. I'm grateful. Emma stirred, blinking awake. She saw Marcus and scrambled out of the sleeping bag. You're awake. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a truck, but I'll live. The fever broke. He looked between us, his expression softening. So, are you two going to finally admit there's something here, or do I have to play matchmaker from my deathbed? Emma's face turned red. Marcus? I've known you had a thing for Jake since you were a teenager. And Jake, you're my best friend. I know you well enough to see when someone gets under your skin. I'm not blind. He coughed, wincing. If you two want to be together, you have my blessing. Just don't make it weird at family dinners. I met Emma's eyes, seeing my own relief reflected there. We'll try our best. The storm finally broke that afternoon. The sun emerged, blinding and beautiful against the endless white. We ventured outside to find ourselves buried in nearly 4 feet of snow. Using our snowshoes and sheer determination, we managed to dig out enough to make the trek back to the trailhead feasible. Marcus was weak but mobile, Emma and I supporting him on either side. The hike out took twice as long as the hike in. Every step was exhausting, but we moved as a unit, taking breaks when needed, encouraging each other forward. When we finally reached Marcus's Jeep, still buried but intact, I could have cried with relief. We dug it out together, started the engine, and began the long drive back to Denver. Marcus slept in the back seat while Emma sat up front with me. She reached over, lacing her fingers through mine on the center console. So what happens now? She asked quietly. I thought about it. My small apartment, my corporate photography gigs, the life that had felt empty for so long. Then I looked at Emma, at the way the winter sun caught in her hair, the small smile playing at her lips. Now we figure it out. Together. No more pretending there's nothing between us. No more wasted time. She squeezed my hand. I like that plan. Good. Because I'm not letting you go. Not after everything. We drove through the mountains as they slowly gave way to foothills, then plains, then the sprawl of Denver in the distance. The radio played softly, Marcus snored gently in the back, and Emma's hand stayed warm in mine. When we finally pulled up to Marcus's parents' house, his mom rushed out, tears streaming down her face. She'd been frantic with worry when we missed our check-in, had been about to call search and rescue. We explained everything, the storm, Marcus's illness, our survival. She hugged each of us fiercely, thanking us for keeping each other alive. Later, after Marcus had been checked by a doctor and declared on the mend, Emma and I stood on the porch of her parents' house, the city lights twinkling below. "This is crazy," she said, leaning against the railing. "A week ago, we were basically strangers. Sometimes it takes almost dying to figure out what really matters," I replied, moving to stand beside her. She turned to face me, her expression serious. "Jake, I meant what I said in the cabin. I felt this way about you for years. But if you're not ready, if this was just survival adrenaline." I silenced her with a kiss, gentle but firm. When I pulled back, I cupped her face in my hands. "Emma-chan, I wasted 3 years not knowing you. I'm not wasting any more time. I'm all in if you are." Her smile was radiant. "I'm all in." From inside the house, we heard Marcus yell, "If you two are done being disgustingly cute, Mom made hot chocolate." Emma laughed, grabbing my hand. "Come on. Welcome to the family dinners you apparently need to get used to." As we walked inside together, warmth and light and laughter surrounding us, I realized that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected circumstances. A blizzard had trapped us, but it had also freed us to finally be honest about what we wanted. And what I wanted was Emma. Always had been, I just hadn't known it yet. The cabin in Wyoming became a story we'd tell for years. The time we almost died, the time Marcus got sick, the time Emma and I finally stopped dancing around each other. But more than that, it became the foundation of something real, something worth fighting for. Because when you survive a storm together, when you keep each other warm through the darkest, coldest night, you learn what it means to truly trust someone. To need them. To love them. And I loved Emma-chan. It had taken a historic blizzard to make me see it, but now that I did, I wasn't letting go.